Hello everyone and welcome to Starport Resort. This is episode 5. It is May the 10th, 2015. I'm your host, Mad Moai.
I'm Mel.
Alright, so do you want to start with what you've been playing?
I've been playing nothing.
Nothing at all?
No, I had 2 exams last week, and then I have my finals next Monday, so I really haven't had time to devote to any video games at all. It's very sad.
That's a bummer. I guess you can
Say
live...
a prayer. Say a prayer for me.
I'm not going to do that. I guess what you can do is live vicariously through me for the next, I'm going to say 20 minutes or so, because I've been busy these 2 weeks. I've got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games to talk about that I've been playing in the past 2 weeks. So I'll start off with Far Cry 4. I wrapped that up early last week. I kind of got fed up trying to collect all the collectibles and do all the quests.
Yep. I think there's too many, honestly. It's a little ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, I did a couple, I did the quote-unquote important ones, like the ones they designated to a different section of the completion screen, so I feel like I did everything story relevant. Like everything else was just, pick up these ammo crates for the resistance and whatever. And
ooh, how exciting.
Yeah, so I got about half of all that other shit done, and I'm just like, I was kind of getting done with the game, so I just said fuck it and finished that up. I don't know, it was kind of comfy for a while, but it's just, as we said, too much stuff in that game. So after that, I fired up Retro Game Challenge, which is the localized Game Center CX game. Have you ever heard of Retro Game Challenge?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So the basic premise of the game is that it sends you back into the 80s, and you play a number of retro-style NES games, Famicom games, basically. And I'll talk about the various games here first. Like, the first one you get is a Space Invaders clone, more or less. Start off pretty simple. And, none of these games control as clunkily as games from the time did, so...
Thank God.
Yeah, that's the saving grace here. Cause
sometimes the controls are pretty difficult to kind of overcome, especially in, this day and age, having, had so many, great games that have amazing controls, and you go back to a well-designed mechanically well-designed game, and then the controls are oh boy.
Yeah, the controls can kill a lot of games for people, especially when you didn't grow up with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that reason, Space Invaders I've never been a big fan of, because you gotta do a lot of timing to get your shots off, whereas with this pseudo Space Invaders game, I felt it was just more natural. It was easier to aim and time the shots because it felt like it went quicker, you know what I mean? Everything just moves a lot quicker than an NES game actually would. So after that one, you get this side-scroller. It's like a pseudo puzzle game called Robot Ninja Haggleman. That was kind of fun. I didn't really care for it. It's not my kind of game, it's you jump on enemies, you throw shurikens to stun them and whatever, and it wasn't a bad game. I didn't dislike it. It's just not something I would go back and play myself. I guess before I continue with the games, I should state that for each of these games, you've got a number of challenges, which can either be reach level 10 in the spaceship game, or kill 3 enemies without touching the ground in Haggleman, that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
So you don't necessarily need to beat the games to be finished with the challenges until right near the end. Spoilers. But I'll talk about the other games first. So after that, you get this NES. It's sort of like a rally game. You're just driving around on a track, which I cared even less for, because I've never liked racing games, even for the NES.
I think that was probably when they were at their worst, but...
Yeah. I mean, I just don't care about racing games either. I'm not a big car guy, or It just feels
Now,
like
I
you're holding
like
A and steering.
arcade racing games. Like, Burnout was fun and stuff like that, but, like, serious racing games? Nah. I
I
don't know
never
about
even
that.
cared for stuff like Burnout, to be honest. Closest I've got is Twisted Metal, probably.
Was it really? I guess it kind of is.
Well, no, it's not really a racing game. I'm just saying that's the closest thing to a racing game that I've ever spent considerable time with.
Yeah.
So then the fourth and fifth games are kind of rehashes. Like you get a sequel to Haggleman, which is just Haggleman with bigger levels. So that was kind of a bummer. Until I got to the fifth game, which was a palette swap of the racing game, which kind of felt
Oh,
like that
fun.
probably just shouldn't have been in the fucking game because I didn't like the racing game, and it's like, I don't know, we made this palette swap one to represent like tournament cartridges, you know what I mean? Like when you'd win a limited
Yeah.
edition, whatever, but which ties into another aspect of the game I'll get into in a minute. So after that, you get a more traditional spaceship shooter, like what you think of top down, like you're moving around, so you're not locked to the bottom like you are with Space Invaders. And that was actually a really fun game, so I'll probably go back and spend more time with that. Picking up power ups and stuff like that. It's kind of like Star Force and all that. You ever play many spaceship games, spaceship shooters?
Um, like in recent years, no, but as a child, tons.
Name some.
Like, well, we did used to have an arcade here when I was a kid. Probably between I was like, I don't know, like 5, and I think it closed down when I was like 9 or so.
Yeah.
So they had a pretty like they rotated the games like pretty well. So you had Galaga and um like the what was it, Riding the Spaceship game or whatever that was.
Yeah, those
That came
ones.
out, yeah, like those ones. So I dumped a lot of quarters into those.
Okay.
Space Invaders. I think they had I don't know if it was an original Space Invaders, but they did have Space Invaders for a while. So played all of those games.
Um, let's see here. And then you got finally like the game I had been waiting for the whole game. It's like a Dragon Quest knockoff called Guadia Quest. It sounds like it was mistranslated from English. It's like
It probably was.
Guadia Quest, like a play on Guardian or something. So I had a lot of fun with that because it's just another Dragon Quest game, more or less. So, can't go wrong there. And then they took Haggleman in a weird direction with Robot Ninja Haggleman 3, and they made it more like a Shinobi game, where you can like customize the character and it saves between levels, and so that was an interesting direction to take it.
How long are each of these games typically?
They seem to be more or less like real NES games, like maybe a bit smaller. So for example, the Rally game has 4 big levels. The spaceship shooters each have like 60, or the first spaceship shooter, the Space Invaders like one, that one's got like 64 levels, and I want to say the more free roaming one with the power ups and stuff has 8 or something like that. Like a lot of these things feel like pretty standard for the time. The Haggleman games all had about 16 levels, I think. This Shinobi type game has 3 or 4, or maybe 5.
Not bad.
So yeah, like you're getting a lot of game there for your buck. Especially when you consider that the final challenge, after you do all the other challenges specific to the games, is you have to beat all 8 of the games, meaning you have to see the ending screens for all 8 of them. So I think
shit.
that's gonna eat up most of my time with the games.
Probably.
Like I thought I was just about done the game. It's like, hey, guess what? One more challenge. Beat all the games. I'm like, oh shit. I'm gonna have to beat those racing games and stuff like that. So, but I'll get into the other features of the game because, believe it or not, the games are not all that's in there. They've got this mock-up of an old gaming magazine. We all know what kind of magazines we're talking about here, like
Mhm.
Game Fan, and I don't know. I think I used to read Tips and Tricks mostly in
I
Nintendo
had
Power.
tips and tricks.
So they'll put out these fake little magazines. You can go onto this shelf and pull a magazine out, and it'll have reviews of the games and upcoming news about the games that are going to be coming out later in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's
they'll give
kind of.
you
I like
that's
that.
that's great, right? Like it brings back the hype of being a kid because like the games that are on the horizon after you beat the game you're working on right now, right?
Oh man, I miss that.
And it'll be like, yo, like every month you'll get different cheat codes for games you've been playing. And it was like, oh, press up, up, down, down, like actual cheat codes like that. It's like, here's fucking 99 lives. You'll be okay now. Or
Wow.
stage select. So yeah, like it really brought back feelings of playing games as a kid when you'd whip open these magazines. To the point where you can even pause the game and press a button to go back to the bottom screen, go over to the magazine shelf, whip open one of the magazines, open it up, and go back up to the top screen like you've just got the magazine open on your lap, so you don't have
That's
to
crazy.
memorize the cheat codes.
That's crazy.
I think that's awesome. And it even, like the RPG, the game I'd been waiting for most of the game, because I knew that was in there.
Mhm.
Like the first time I saw it mentioned was halfway through the game. I'm like, oh cool, that's got to be coming soon, and it just kept getting delayed. Like in the magazines, like, oh fuck, it's been delayed like 6 more months. I'm like, oh
You're like my
no.
life, my life.
Yeah, basically, it brought back what it felt like to be a kid again. So that, they could have easily fucked up that magazine feature or whatever, and like most of the time I wouldn't even read stuff like that, because they're like 15 pages each. But every single one of them was worthwhile.
That's pretty cool.
It was
I like
awesome.
that.
And each game has like 4 cheat codes too, so and they just bleed them out to you. Usually after you've done a challenge that would have, like, if you had the code, it would have been insignificant. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's cool. Like the rate they give you the cheat codes is neat. And for the spaceship shooter, like halfway through your challenges in that game, the kid friend you're with, he buys you a turbo controller. So if you press like one of the face buttons you hadn't been using up till then, you just get auto fire. Like, they just add the feature of auto fire and justify it as, oh, he bought you a turbo controller.
That's funny.
It's just the little details like that that really, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because if we all had turbo
I actually
controllers.
didn't. Oh, we did
I
at
did.
the daycare, whatever, the after school care program. But I don't actually have any myself because I don't know what brands are good and whatnot.
Oh, I didn't know as a kid. I just saw that turbo button. I was like, I want this.
Yeah,
Birthday. Give.
turbo controllers are great. This is bittersweet in that there was a sequel made, but that'll probably never get localized because that was also for the DS and it came out years and years ago. So
That's a bummer.
that's a huge bummer because I know that there's a 16-bit sequel to Guardia Quest
Aw,
and
too
other
bad.
stuff, and it bums me out. But at least we got this one. I'm actually surprised we got this one because it's based off of a Japanese show,
Mhm.
and they actually, more or less kept it intact. Like there's even the photo from the show, like right off the bat, still in the game. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so that's good. I'm probably going to be spending a lot more time with that, like on the bus, because I was getting kind of burnt out with Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you've been playing that one for quite a while now.
yeah, I got to take a bit of a break, I think. So
Yeah.
it's nice. I can just I seriously just grind on the bus in this RPG game, just grind out some money. It's just like Dragon Quest. I know Dragon Quest. It's a comfort zone right there. Um, Also, right before I played Retro Game Challenge, I finished up Mario 3, which I'd bought on the eShop, and I talked a bit about this with you
Yeah.
earlier. Those last couple worlds are really fucking hard.
7 and 8.
Yeah, more 8 than 7, mind you.
Yeah, I think World 8 it was pretty tough for a lot of people. I mean, I think that if I had not grown up playing that game, probably the 4 or 5 dozen times that I did, like it would probably be pretty difficult too. Because
Yeah.
there was a couple of them. There was that
Like the vehicle
one.
ones.
Yeah, well, those
Which one are
were
you talking
pretty tough.
about?
Well, particularly I think the one that the reason that had played it so young or started playing it so young was because my parents played it, and there was that castle midway through the world where it was just doors.
Oh, fuck, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I had to use a map for that one.
I know my parents could like never figure it out. Like they always had to use the cloud to get past it. And I remember my brother and I were playing it, and he and I had figured it out as kids, and we just felt so fucking smart. Like
I love that feeling.
like you guys couldn't do this, and we totally figured it out. Look at this, we could. Yeah.
This is kind of a tangent too, but I remember once watching my dad play a video game when I was home sick one day, and I'd given him a suggestion, like, why don't you try this? He's like, that's not going to work. I'm like, just try it anyway. And he did it, and it worked, and I felt like the smartest motherfucker in the world. I think it was Siphon Filter. I don't remember what he did, though. But yeah, it feels great when your kid's like, hey, I figured out something the adult didn't. You know?
Yep.
That almost never happens. So, you know, overall, it was a really, really challenging game. I'm glad there were save states so I could at least save between the levels. Otherwise, I would have just got a lot of game overs in Mario 3.
Probably, yeah.
'Cause that's,
I mean,
compared to World, it's really unforgiving. That game will kick you right in the face.
That's my favorite Mario game. I mean, outside of Super Mario 64, I think Super Mario Bros. 3 is my favorite of all time.
See, I spent most of my childhood playing Mario World.
Yeah,
so
I played a ton of Super Mario World too, but I'm a little bit older, so I got to play Super Mario Bros. 3. The best version of that though is the Super Mario All Stars version of Super
you
Mario
like Mario
Bros.
3 for All Stars?
Oh, yeah, was so much better than the NES one. It's like if you can get your hand on All Stars,
I have it. I have All Stars.
I would totally play Super Mario Bros. 3 and All Stars over anything else, honestly.
Well, the only reason I did the NES version was because I wanted to do it portably, and on the eShop they only have the NES game because, you know, Super Nintendo games, that's just too much for the 3DS to handle for some reason.
Can't play it, man. It's 16 bits.
It's twice the bits. What the fuck?
Whoa, double bit, man.
So I was happy to get that out of the way. Now, in some form or another, I've taken care of all 3 of those NES ones.
Nice.
Yeah. Although I don't feel good about using the save states on Mario 1 and 3, but what can you do?
Well, I mean, we live in the future now. Like we can do that if we want to.
It feels disingenuous. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. I feel bad when I do it, but I also don't feel bad enough to put up with game overs and redoing entire worlds.
Yeah. Total side note, today I was in the garage earlier cleaning out boxes, and I found my copy of Jet Grind Radio for the Dreamcast.
Oh yeah? Do you still have a Dreamcast?
I do.
Does it work? Like the optical drive's not fucked?
Nope, it works.
Ooh, good deal.
Yeah, so I'm excited to pop this baby in at some point.
You a big fan of that game?
I really liked it a lot.
Maybe you can explain the appeal to me, because that seems to be a beloved game. And I don't get it. Mostly, I guess it's because I'm not a very musical person. I can't stand the music in that game at all.
God, I love the soundtrack. Man, I listened to the soundtrack like outside of the game for years. I still love that soundtrack.
Is a big part of it the music?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, it's a big part of it. The gameplay's fun too, and the art style was one of the things that made it really stand out.
I do like the way it looks. Yeah.
It was pretty fun. I'm looking forward to playing this as like an adult and not, 12 years old.
Now that you can understand the concept of love.
Now that I can probably play it better.
I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I think as kids we were willing to put up with a lot of jankiness that if we're not like keeping up on it, it's hard to get back into. For example, another tangent on your tangent, Duke Nukem Time to Kill. It was this. Basically, the more I learn about it, it was like a rip-off of Tomb Raider. Like, I watched someone play Tomb Raider recently, and a lot of the animations are just the exact same.
Oh
the
yeah,
point where I'm like,
definitely.
they must have been sharing some sort of assets or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that game controls like complete ass,
It
and
does. It does, doesn't it?
like I'm not even willing to put up with that right now, like as an adult.
I also found my Sega Smash Pack for the Dreamcast. I don't know if you remember
What's
those.
that?
Well, it has Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, Shining Force, Wrestle War, Streets of Rage 2, Columns, Virtua Cop 2, Vector Man, Phantasy Star 2,
Man,
Altered Beast, Revenge of Shinobi, and Sega Swirl on it.
that's a shitload of good games.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are good games.
Yeah, some of them are like,
Like Columns is like, who the fuck cares? But
yeah, but I found that as well, and I'm like, wow.
that was back when, you know, that was a good era when everyone was just putting out these discs. Like, I don't know, have like 50 fucking ROMs on a disc
Have
before they
everything.
realized
There you go.
you can charge like $8 per ROM on an online shop. So, thanks Xbox for that. We'll never get another Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, you know what I mean?
Nope. Nope, nope.
But at least we got a couple of those before they figured that out, so. Let's move on here. I've started dabbling in Hearthstone.
How you liking that?
I'm liking it quite a bit. It's a lot simpler than Magic the Gathering, but I don't currently have a group of people I can play Magic with, and I'm not going to pay money for Magic Online, so I see this as a really good alternative. It scratches the same itch that Magic does, just on a lesser scale. Although I will say, being competent at Magic makes me really decent at Hearthstone, to the point where I just kind of blasted through the bottom several tiers. Although now I'm getting matched up against people who have a bunch of legendary cards.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people think the meta for the game is like super easy, but I think once you start getting in the high ranks, especially when you're going to like legendary rank and stuff, like it's pretty ridiculous.
I don't mean to imply the game doesn't have a good meta.
It's also not that as old as Magic the Gathering is.
Yeah,
either.
like mechanically, Magic is a lot more complex of a game, even just with the fact that you can do things on your opponent's turn. Like removing that capability removes countless layers of complexity from the game, and I kind of don't mind that.
I was gonna say it's kind of nice. It's like, okay, here's something that I can play that's engaging and complex, but I don't feel like I'm at fucking school when I'm trying to like play this game. You know.
I mean, I like the complexity of Magic unless I'm paired up against grognards with, again, money decks that they've spent hundreds of dollars on.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, it's...
I mean, and you got people on Hearthstone that do that too, but you're not gonna run into them like at low levels, really. That doesn't happen.
Well, the problem was I was playing on casual because I don't care about ladder, but then someone told me you should probably just do ladder because people test weird shit on casual.
Yeah, well, that's really good at testing decks.
Because I was trying to build up my paladin deck or whatever, and I got paired up against this mage who just shit out 3 legendaries in a row, like this Dr. Boom and Alex Straza and something else that was really big and hard to deal with. So I think I rage quit that one. Because I had almost beat her, too. The fucker. So I don't know, I'm probably going to spend a lot more time with Hearthstone. I think the daily quests are nice. It's like, you know, a couple matches a day minimum. That's probably enough. So I don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Because I imagine if I had just had as many quests as I wanted, I'd burn myself out really fast on a game like this. So that's good. I've been playing the warrior and the shaman mostly. Although
Shaman is annoying as fuck sometimes.
I've been having good success with the hunter too. But
yeah.
I hear face hunter all the time. I don't know what that means, but I think it's just be aggro as fuck, which is what I did in Magic, and turns out that works really well in Hearthstone too.
Yeah.
Well, so far for me.
What season is this? This is what, season 12 right now, I think?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think something like that.
So,
Face Hunter, I think, was like season 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was...
That's not relevant anymore? Because I
No,
see
it
a
still
lot of
is.
people playing
It's,
mages.
well,
Like
mages
most.
for.
Hmm?
I think most people, especially if you're low, like ladder or anything, mages what most new players start with. Is a
Weird.
mage deck. So you're gonna see a lot of them like early on, and
Yeah,
then the
it's
higher you
mostly
go,
mages.
the less and less and less you'll see of them
Well,
because.
that's good, because I'm fucking sick of fighting mages. I don't like mages. I hate them in WoW, too. We got more WoW to discuss in news, but let's keep going here, I guess. I also dabbled, well, I can't say dabbled because I finished it. I played Medieval Resurrection.
You were bitching about that one all week.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. So you weren't even aware of this game, were you?
I had no idea it even existed.
Okay, so I'll explain this to you and the listeners. Medieval Resurrection is a PSP remake, quote unquote, of the PlayStation 1 Classic, which, if time permits, I'm going to talk about at the end of the podcast this week. Right off the bat, I want to complain. I've got like 7 things I wrote down to complain about, so I think that's my forte, so I'll get right into it. Some key levels that I love in Medieval are just missing from this remake, which is problem number 1.
How is it a remake and it's missing levels?
This is like an actual remake, like it's from the ground up. They changed everything, like
Is it a reimagining or a remake?
like most of the levels are the same, the flow is the same, it's just levels are different and the weapons are different and the way everything works is different.
That's dumb.
So
it's a different game then. At that point, it's just,
it is, well,
basically medieval fan fiction.
It is a remake in the proper sense of the word. The problem is everyone has been doing like HD remasters of shit, which is literally the same game. I don't know. Yeah, like I guess it's a reimagining. It's less faithful to the original game than most remakes are. To a fault, I'm gonna say. Because, okay, I'm going to look at the level list here for the original Medieval. You got Dan's Crypt, Graveyard, Cemetery Hill, Mausoleum, Return to Graveyard. So far, we're good to go. You got Scarecrow Fields, Pumpkin Gorge, and the Pumpkin King. They've condensed Pumpkin King and Pumpkin Gorge into one level, which I'm totally fine with. So far, still good. We go to the Sleeping Village. The first time you go through there, you just pass through. You don't actually do the level. And you go straight to the Asylum, which is my first big problem because do you remember the Asylum Grounds level?
Mm-hmm.
The labyrinth, the one with all the puzzles and shit.
Yeah.
As one of the most charming levels in the game. So one of my favorites has just gone. And that bums me the fuck out. So you go into the Asylum, and this is like the only level in the game where you can't get the This is actually the only level in the game where you can't get the chalice the first time through, because it's behind lava, and you have to come back with your dragon armor. Okay. So you get through all that, and you get the key to the forest because that's locked off currently, and you get an item and whatever. So then you go back to Sleeping Village to get the Shadow Demon Claw or whatever. That's all still fine and dandy. I will say, a lot of the combat... No, I'm not going to get into that yet. Okay. So then you go to the forest.
So many things are so wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong. So you go to the forest after all that, and the anthill level is gone, which I'm actually super happy about, because fuck that level. Like, I hate that level.
It was annoying, but I didn't mind it that much.
Here's the problem. As a kid, I had, like, no sense of direction. I still don't really. So we would get stuck in that level for hours. Because we couldn't figure out where the fuck to go. And I mean, I look at a map now, and it's a really simple level, but everything looks the same. Like, there's landmarks, but... Yeah. Oh, fuck, I hate that level so much. I just use a map now. I'm like, I don't want to spend any more time in this level than I have to. So you go to the Enchanted Earth and whatever, and unlock the Shadow Demons, let them out like a dummy. And then you go to the Pools of the Ancient Dead, which is a less painful level now, because if you recall, that level had the armored dudes who you couldn't kill. You had to knock them back into the muck.
Yeah.
And the knockback on that was atrocious. It would take forever to knock anything into the muck. So at least now your sword knocks them around. Like you can generally knock them into the muck after 2-3 hits. So that's good. After that, they got rid of the lake, which I'm happy about. Do you remember the lake at all?
Vaguely.
Okay, it was this level. It was all on these like narrow paths, and there was water everywhere. So if you slipped or just anything went tits up in combat at all with these really hard enemies, you just fall in and lose a life bottle like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a shitty level. Probably the actual worst level of the game, but I hate the anthill more. And then after the cave, they also cut my actual favorite level, the Crystal Caves. Do you remember the Crystal Caves?
Yes.
That had like really nice music. It was really chill and mellow, and you know, it was kind of like apologizing for the lake and Pools of the Ancient Dead and all that.
We're sorry. Here you go.
And that's where you fought the dragon there. So instead of doing that, you go to this pirate town, which is a whole new level. And the whole point of that level is to pick up these items to dress up like a pirate, so the guy will give you a ship to go to the Dragon Island. So it's kind of like the level in Medieval 2 where you have to pick up like clothes and stuff so you can pass as a gentleman or whatever. So I mean, it wasn't a bad level. It was the only unique level to the remake. I just don't like it because it's not what I grew up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm a big baby like that. So then after that level, you take a boat to this dragon island to get the fire armor. You know, the dragon armor that you could light shit on fire with. I sent you a video. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it.
I did. Yeah.
You did? Okay. I actually really liked the way they dealt with the dragon this time. He was written... I don't know why I liked it so much. Like, he just had this kind of hippy-dippy British fruity accent. And I thought the writing was actually pretty good, where in the rest of the game it was kind of cringeworthy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I had fun with that. The dragon fight is more or less the same for the first half. You know, you knock stones on his head, and then he pops out, and then you actually have to fight the dragon. Like, he'll shoot fire at you, and then you got to run up and cut his ass up. So that was, that was alright. Then after all that, the Gallows Gauntlet level is completely gone. You might not remember that one. That's a less memorable one. That's the level with all the hanged dudes.
Yep.
Okay, so that was like a really hard level, and like I didn't love it, but I was sad to not see it in there. You know, that's like 3 levels now, 3 iconic levels to me that they've just completely taken out, and 2 bad ones. So they're doing bad, but they're going to be doing worse here in a second. You go to the Haunted Ruins. That's more or less the same. You know, you save the farmers and fight a bunch of shadow demons and knock the thing over looking for stuff. I will say they add this like plot device where you have to collect 4 pieces of this stone here to because for some reason the justification you already had for doing everything wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? So like instead of just going places to do stuff, it's like, oh, you've got 4 pieces of this stone. One of them is over at the mayor, and one of them is, you know, one of them's in the castle, and blah 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 blah. So it like justifies all the places you're going to, which largely unnecessary, I think. And the stone itself is like, it's just a replacement for the chalice in the final battle where you summon the skeletons to fight the other skeletons.
Yep.
So, you know, it's, you know, unnecessary. The only place I think it makes good sense is when you have to get a piece from the Shadow Demon Vault. Because otherwise, like, that's something that always bugged me about the original. Is like, you go and open the Shadow Demon prison for seemingly no fucking reason but to advance the game. You know what I mean? So everyone's talking about, like, oh, fuck, Shadow Demons are bad. Like, Xerog wants to let them out. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to go let them out. And even the gargoyle is just like, what did you do? Why? I mean, the door's open, but good job, dumbass. So, there's that. I guess that justifies it. That's a tangent in and of itself. After the castle, you go to the ghost ship, which is more or less... It's less annoying, I guess, so that's good. But then they removed 2 more levels that I really liked. The entrance hall, where you're, like, wrecking up Xeroc's house. You remember that level at all? Okay, that was kind of... It was like a really easy prelude to the final ramp up, you know, like a lot of health fountains and just imps you were fighting. You'd just knock everything down in a second. It felt super powerful. which led you to the time device, which is also not in this game, which blows my mind because that was like,
Wait, what?
yeah, you know the time device,
Yeah.
level with
Why
all the
is that?
brains and the
Why
machines
is
and
that
shit.
not in?
It's not in the fucking game.
That was a big,
Yeah,
huge part of the
like
original
that
game.
was that was more or less the end of the
Pivotal.
game.
Yeah.
Like that was the hard final level that you ramped up to. No, you go from the ghost ship straight to Xerox Lair, which means you go from the boss fight with the Pirate King straight to Xerox Lair, which kind of sucks. All they changed in Xerox Lair was they added like 3 waves of trash mobs before you fought the centaur guy. Actually, it's a centaur now instead of the mounted knight like it was in the original, for reasons. And all they did was make the fights more convoluted. Like the good lightning doesn't work. Oh, you don't get good lightning. That's what you had the stone for. You use the stone to resurrect your heroes. You know what I mean? Like, you remember how you used to have to heal them with the lightning? And it would hurt you? So they could keep fighting his skeletons?
Mhm.
Well, basically, the stone does the same thing. But it didn't work very well. So, like, 7 of my dudes died almost immediately. But then the fight was so fucking broken. And the trash mobs, all I did was throw chicken drumsticks at them. So I just had a shitload of chickens sitting all over the arena. So I actually just stood there and held down the healing button on my one dude, and he soloed all 8 of the fighters because they wouldn't gang up on him enough.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So it was broken and it took forever, but whatever. Then you
I'm
fight.
surprised you got all the way through this game, honestly. I think I would have just given up halfway
Here's-
through and been like, you know what? Nah, I'm good.
Here's the thing. I probably would have, but this was one of those games where I got to the final boss when I bought it, and it pissed me off so much that I just turned it off and never got back to it.
Okay.
So I resolved to myself, I'm picking this up this time. I can probably knock it out in a couple days. I'm going to finish this fucking game. That's just the kind of mentality I take with these games. I've finished lots of games I fucking hate. Sonic Advance 3 being another recent one that I actually wanted to just throw in the garbage can because it's so bad right at the end. Anyway, then you fight Xerox, and he's not a weird, fucking really weird lizard thing anymore. He's just a big snake. And, you know, the fight's a lot easier and a lot simpler, but it takes a lot longer. So that's all, like, that's 3 bad strikes against it. So there's that. I
So
also...
it shouldn't even exist at all, basically.
Like, they shouldn't have fucked with what they did. Oh, I haven't even gotten to the best part. So, there's this Arab imp thing living in your skull, and he talks to you all game, and gives you hints in the fights. Yeah. Did you ever watch this cartoon called Bromwell High?
No.
Oh. Well, a voice actor from there voices him. He's basically just a stereotypical, like, you know, Persian gypsy. Well, not even Persian. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah,
Like
I got
just
you.
you know, a
But
skeezy dude, and he's living in your skull, and he talks to you and tells bad
hints and
jokes all
tips
day,
tells you how
instead
to
of
play the fucking game because you're too retarded to figure it out yourself.
basically. And like the whole game, just all the writing was made even sillier. Like it kind of drained away all the tone the original had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Like the original game was, it had some silly writing with the heroes and the
yeah, but it
NPCs
wasn't
and stuff.
like,
It was kind of dry wit, you know.
yeah, well, it wasn't really aimed at kids. I mean,
That
did
too.
they kind of dumb the humor down then for like a younger audience, or
Yeah, they dumbed it all down. Like, oh, you'd probably cringe at any of the Hall of Heroes interactions. Like, they
Probably
just
never.
made everyone's like way too cartoonish and stuff because they could.
God.
It was a big bummer. And I don't know, it's just like the tone is completely gone. Like, things looked nice. Like, Dan himself looked really cool because his armor was more involved and like there was moving pieces and stuff. But the color palette in some levels just made them feel boring. Also, the music wasn't great. Like, there were a couple tracks from the original game that they sort of remixed, but they used the same couple tracks for most of the levels, which was a bummer because I actually have it written down here in the mausoleum. When you give the organist a piece of you know, the music sheet.
Mm-hmm.
He'll start playing the music from the original level.
Yep.
It's only then that you realize, like, man, the music in this game is just so boring and forgettable. Like, now I'm enjoying the music because they're just remixing the track that should have been here.
Yeah.
Like, most of the levels just had it was the graveyard music, more or less.
No,
It was
I'm
kind
boring.
of a bummer. Yeah. So, I don't know, the music wasn't great. They made the skeleton this Tim Burton looking thing instead of,
God.
like, you know, you gave him extra music so he was happy, as opposed to the way I always interpreted it in the original was like, you gave him that music sheet and he was fucking thrilled to be free, because then he disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And he opened his treasure room. This guy just hung around and just kept playing shit. So it's little details like that that irritated me, you know, because it changes the tone of what you're doing so much. And it sounds like nitpicking, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because this is a game I played as a child. Like, I've played this game pretty consistently all through my life, actually. I'll play it every couple years at least. Because I can take it out in like 2 hours, I want to say. Maybe
Yeah.
4 hours, but, you know, generally a sitting, I can take it out. So let's see what else I have written down here. Crystal caves, all that. Writing's bad. The ranged weapons are completely useless. So, remember the other game, like, you had the auto-targeting thing?
Yeah.
And you could just hold down the crossbow button and just rip bosses to pieces?
Yep.
It still sort of targets them, but it, like, lags behind them, so by the time you fire a bolt, like, it's already moved out of the way. So you have to wait for anything you want to fire at to stop moving completely, and then you can fire one arrow because it has recovery windows like in a Mega Man game or something. So boss fights take forever because you're just doing the same, like, slivers of damage, but you can't do it rapidly like you originally could.
Boring.
So yeah, most of the boss fights, they're not particularly hard. They just take forever because none of your weapons do any damage because you can't do a rapid fire at all. So that's actually a pretty big problem, and that kind of ties into how the combat in general feels really shitty. Like, you take how shitty Medieval 2 felt and then make it even shittier in some ways. Like, with the first game, you could just, every time you swung your sword, you knew exactly what it was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, it felt like they worried too much about animating it and not enough about just fucking cutting, you know?
Boring.
Yeah. Although one interesting thing they did with the weapons was they, like, some of the swords are two-handed. So, like, the long sword is a two-handed sword with way better range. But the way the combat worked, like, the shield was totally useless because it's hard to explain, but basically I just used two-handed swords all game because fuck it, like, the extra reach was so important for how clunky the combat was.
But where is, like, I don't know, where's the danger then in that case? Like,
oh, it's things will kick
ever...
your shit in. Like,
okay.
The combat was so clunky, like.
Oh, but for a bad reason.
Yeah, not in a good. It was hard for bad reasons. Okay. In that, to get close enough to an enemy, they were generally going to hit you, and they would stun lock you really badly. The worst case of that being, you remember the sort of steampunkish musket guards?
Yeah.
Okay, they've got like this flame on their stomach, and if you get too close, they'll just knock you back with it, but you get caught in the fire, and then it just keeps pushing you like 7 times, so it'll drain half your health, and then you're on fire, and you just can't move while you're being pushed by this fucking fire, too.
Jesus.
So, like, I found the best solution for that to be run away and hit them with my arm when I was out of ammo. Just fucking throw my arm at them, because getting too close was just a waste of time. So, the combat in general felt really shitty. That's a bummer.
The whole game sounds like it just felt like shit.
Hey, you ready for more bullshit? The ultimate weapon in the game is locked behind 72 minigames.
For what purpose?
None of the minigames are fun.
For what purpose? 72? Like, who the fuck got that number up?
Yeah,
said,
okay,
you know
so it's...
What? This is totally worth it,
The thing is, there's 8 unique minigames, but they each have 9 levels, but each... It's something like, okay, you know the shooting range in the Zelda games for the N64, okay?
Uh-huh.
Each one of them takes like that long. So we're talking like 3 minutes per, and they're pretty unforgiving.
If you get it.
If you get it. And you like most of them I did maybe 6 of them. Actually no, not even 6, I did 4 because I'm like, fuck this. And I had to do each one 2 to 3 times to get a high enough score because it was all really bad mini games that controlled like shit. So at that point I'm just like, fuck it, like the game's not that hard. When I get the magic sword it'll probably be insignificant difference anyway. But that also means if you're willing to put in the time and ace all 72 of those mini games, you've got the best weapon in the game like 5 levels into the game, which would also fuck up your pacing. Yeah. Awesome. I wrote down here that the unique level to the game isn't very good at all. It's just that pirate level and the carnival, which is where you play all those shitty mini games. And overall, it's just kind of depressing when compared to how much I love the original game. You know? But, you know, it's not all bad. I wrote down a couple good things. The jumping actually felt really good, which is the biggest problem with the original. I don't know if you've spent much time with Medieval recently, but the jump is unwieldy and horrible. Like, almost every death in that game that I get in the original Medieval is because I couldn't make a jump properly.
Nice.
There's one jump in the pirate ship where I actually do get game overs because it's just that bad of a jump. That's the only risk I have in Medieval anymore, is that one jump. For all my bitching, it's not a terrible game. Like, it's playable.
But why play that when you can just go play the original mini?
Yeah, basically. Like, I would never, ever recommend someone play this instead of the original, which I guess is the sign of a bad remake, you know? Because then
terrible.
you've made an irrelevant
you
remake.
Failed at, what you were trying, whatever they were aiming for, I don't know. Like, hey, we're just going to take this original game that people really like, we're going to gut it.
Yeah.
Kind of take the remains and shove them together and be
completely
like, hey,
change the tone, make it control like shit. I don't know. It's bad. It's bad. Also, the healing fountains only healed you for like 1 full bar. So I was always, you know what's really fun? Between levels, you'd have to go back to your home base and farm for health files for like 10 minutes. Because each health file only fills up half your bar, but it wasn't worth it going to a level with a couple of fountains, because they only filled up one bottle, you know? So it was quicker to just do level 1 over and over again and grab the health file like 20 times to fill up all your bottles. So, you know, unnecessary grinding that doesn't... It's not grinding for experience, it's just grinding so you have full health for the next level. So that's really fun. Don't play Medieval Resurrection. Do play Medieval. We'll get to that at the end here, provided I haven't blown most of the podcast bitching about Medieval Resurrection. Although that probably took 25 minutes, at least. So there's that. But also a reason why I kept going with the game is because, well, at least I'm getting podcast content out of this. So I'm going to be justifying a lot of stupid bullshit for the sake of the podcast going forward, I think.
I'm miserable and I hate this, but
I get to bitch about it on the internet afterwards, and people will listen, damn it. So you're all welcome for that. Today I spent most of the day playing Kirby 64 on an extra TV I set up while we watched King of the Hill. You know, that's a Kirby game. That boy ain't right. I also dabbled with Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. I have more to say about that next time, probably, because that's a hard fucking game. But it's at a point where I can usually get to the boss, and by the time I'm on my last life, get the boss to a sliver, but then he'll fucking kill me. But the levels are so... they'll kick you in the nuts just hard enough where you're like, I don't really want to reattempt that right now. So... that's
you have to die and take an hour or 2 break and come back.
I think that'll be a good bust game. I'll get like an attempt or 2 per level, and you know, by the time I'm pissed off, I'm already at work, so fuck it. It works. That's it. That's all I've been playing these past 2 weeks. like that's not plenty already. So let's go straight into news here, so it's not just me telling you about all my adventures in PSP games for some reason. Since our last podcast, Konami has officially canceled Silent Hills.
So sad.
Are you sad? Are you a big Silent Hill fan?
Yeah.
Have we already had this discussion?
I think sort of, in a roundabout way. I mean, I like horror games, and I really enjoyed the original Silent Hill. I like Silent Hill 2 and 3.
I hear good things about 2.
It's really good. Really.
I just don't like horror games myself.
Fucking creepy. But, it's really good.
There's 2 other tidbits related to this. Konami delisted from the New York Stock Exchange, which had a lot of people alarmed, but I think that's not a big...
I think
that's not unprecedented for Japanese game companies to do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of them... I think there's some American... I think, like, Ubisoft doesn't even trade on the New York Stock Exchange. They do on other ones, but still, I mean, it's not... They had kind of done that without, the whole Hideo Kojima stuff. I wouldn't raise flags, but I think in tandem with all that bullshit that's going on, it's like, what are you guys doing over there, huh?
This is just kind of giving me more support for my theory that I think they're gonna pull out of big games as we know it, if not games entirely.
They don't really have anything else, do they?
Yeah.
I mean,
like just because
Metal Gear Solid and
Castlevania,
and Silent Hills.
I mean, they don't have Silent Hills anymore. That's done. So there's currently Metal Gear 6 being worked on, and that's it.
Metal Gear gonna get... You mean 5 or 6?
Metal Gear Solid... Oh, 5, right? Whatever, it's I lose track. There's all that Peace Walker shit.
Yeah, well, Metal Gear 5. I mean...
I think it is 5. It's the Phantom Pain, right?
Yeah.
5?
5.
I feel like 6 for some reason. But, anyway, so... Also, PT, the playable teaser...
That was taken down.
It was taken off of PSN. But...
It's... I don't... That one, like, I can only imagine, like, how much had already been put into that game. Like, why would you just... I don't understand.
It's my understanding that PT was not actually... I think that was more like just a concept to get people hype about Silent Hills. I think it was my understanding Silent Hills was going to be a third-person game and all that, and this was more or less just a marketing stunt.
Yeah, but, I mean...
But you'd probably use, like, assets and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure a lot.
I don't know.
But,
the engine, maybe.
My point is, though, if they were at the point to, like, do that big of a marketing stunt, the game could not have been that far off to begin with. You know
I think they'd said that they hadn't even started working on the game proper. I heard that anyway. I don't have a source for you right now. But that's what I'd heard. Like, that's what Konami said also. That could just be a lie. Because they seem to be kind of spiteful right now. Funny thing about that is, I downloaded it and I'm like, haha, I've got this thing people are going to want in a while. But it's going to expire at the end of 2015. Turns out. The demo is going to expire. Which makes it extra funny because people have been buying and selling PS4s with it installed at a marked up price on eBay. So, fucking people, stop this shit. Stop that shit. Like, why would you do that? I'm sure eventually, well, maybe not now actually with it getting taken down, but you think, that'd get put up cracked somewhere on the internet 20 years down the line, Something like that. So, I don't know. Konami's fucked. I don't like video games anymore. They're like, fuck it.
Apparently not.
But in good news for video games, that ukulele Kickstarter. You want to talk about that at all? Have you been keeping an eye on it?
I can relive my childhood Banjo-Kazooie days.
That's the hope anyway.
Yeah, that's what I really hope it turns into that.
They reached their funding goal, I think, I want to say it was 40 minutes or so after putting up the Kickstarter.
They're like, hey, look! Everybody's like, Rareware? Oh my god, take my money.
Seems like it's slowed down significantly since the first day.
Yeah, well, it's always going to once that hypes.
But, they've almost made 10 times what they're asking for at this point, and they still got 36 days to go, so... That's my favorite kind of Kickstarter, because I don't have to contribute to it. Like, they're going to hit all their stretch goals even without me. So that works.
Yeah, they're
because there's no
at
risk on my end.
almost a mil 5 right now
Yeah,
with 36 days to go.
and that's pounds. That's not even
Yeah.
bucks. That's like way more our money.
Mhm.
So there's that. I'll keep an eye on that. I'm not as skeptical as usual. That would be nice for something like that to turn out well.
Well, I like that they have like actual, like, you know, I don't, I like gameplay. You know, like here's our engine, here's our
Yeah.
engine at work.
Like they're
You
actually
know,
showing us something.
and fucking Grant Kirkhope is doing the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And he did the
David Wise too.
yeah, he did the Banjo Kazooie one. I'm excited.
I hope it turns out as well as I hope it does.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
That would be nice. You know, I could always use another 3D platformer. There haven't been many of those for quite some time. I'll keep an eye on that. I wouldn't expect it to come out anytime soon. Like most Kickstarter games, it'll probably be delayed, especially if they plan to implement a bunch of stuff with all this extra money.
I think they were aiming middle of next year, October 2016. It says.
Alright.
So I think
I'm
they
not going to
gave
hold my
themselves
breath
some-
for that. But
Me neither. But at least they gave a year and a half. For
it's better than fucking Tim Shaver's like, I don't know, fucking 5 years.
Who knows?
Fuck it. I don't know. I have to not piss all the money away. Oops, I did it twice. Give me money. But you know, like people have made the point that Mighty Number 9, you know, that was another big name backing a popular franchise, but people have been saying for years like Inafune is a good producer. He's not necessarily
He doesn't
great,
give a shit
creative,
about anybody's
whatever.
money. You know.
Yeah. So there's that. That's why that failed. Tim Schafer, obvious reasons. You can't give that man money. He's irresponsible. So I'm hoping with the pedigree of the people involved in this project that it'll turn out better than other things have. Like I've had, like the Kickstarter games I've played by and large have been pretty good. I really enjoyed Mercenary Kings. I enjoyed Wasteland 2. I enjoyed Divinity. So
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight, yeah, I gotta forget that. I haven't pledged to any of those, so that's my favorite kind of Kickstarter game where it comes out and I don't have to worry about my money. Because if it's bad, I just don't buy it.
Yep.
That's good. Have you heard about this Batman DLC fuckery?
So I didn't read specifics, just that there was more DLC upset. So, and that kind of just goes like, oh yeah, well. What do you guys expect at this point?
Let me set it up for you. Game's not even out yet. It's been delayed how many fucking times? Whatever. But they're already offering you can buy it right now, $40 season pass.
$40.
$40 for a game you don't even have yet. I think people are upset at the audacity of that.
For a season pass?
Seems like it's a lot of cosmetic shit, like costumes, some Batgirl missions, because people care about Batgirl. I don't fucking know. It's in my experience, like side content. This is kind of regurgitating something I heard on the Bombcast this week, but like the side content in most games like this is like doesn't fucking matter because it can't matter to the core game because people are gonna miss it if they don't want to buy the DLC, you know. And if it does matter, that's kind of even more fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at this point, if you wanted to buy the game in the season pass, we're looking at like $110 game here. 120 maybe. Maybe we get fucked on the season pass price too. So I don't, like.
Watch them not release anything past something initially. You know, can you just imagine like?
That would be great. Because anybody who's just gonna, hey, here's 40 extra bucks for no fucking reason, like you kind of deserve to get fucked at that point because you're so undiscerning with your money. Like I've got a problem with season passes as a concept for two reasons. One, you don't know what the content's gonna be. Two, most of the time, like at least half of the DLC that comes out for a game fucking sucks and you can do without. It's like it's not a good deal, and you're prepaying for stuff that's not even being developed yet. Like, what are you doing?
We promise we're going to deliver at some point, but we need your money now.
Devs never fucking lie. It's not even that. It's like, hey, you know, like half of the shit's gonna probably be shitty, so it would be really cool if you paid for it all up front before you knew half of it was shitty. Like, I want to think back to one of the first season passes I ever saw was for Saints Row 3, and again there was like maybe one that was decent, one that was horrible, one that was less decent but not horrible, and then another one that was horrible. So it's like, good job, you spent a bunch of money on mostly shitty DLC that doesn't matter at all. I don't know. I don't like pre-buying anything, really. I want to make exceptions for stuff like Dark Souls, where it's like, well, yeah, it's, you know, I know what I'm getting there. It's fucked in ways that are fine. I'm fine with the way those games are fucked. Because I'm a hypocrite. Apparently Rockstar banned mods in GTA 5. You heard anything about this?
I can't really get a really definitive answer on whether they're actually banning people from playing online with mods, if they're banning people who are legitimately cheating with certain mods.
Is this like some sort of thing where protecting the economy of the GTA Online or something weird like that?
But just people, like, I know there's been some people have been banned who've just been blatantly cheating online.
What, like aimbots and shit?
Well, just all kinds of. I mean, you can do pretty much anything you want with mods, and then it's not running like Punkbuster or something. So
Punkbuster.
But still, but I can't really get like. I haven't really seen or read anything definitive from either side that's saying what's really going on. Are people getting booted from playing online for having mods installed at all? Certain kinds of mods, doing certain things with certain, there's a lot of moving parts in that, so
yeah.
I'm not really sure what to think at the moment, because I haven't been able to find anything anywhere that says one thing or another about it, so
I don't know. A lot of fucked up stuff with mods recently. It's not a good time for mods.
No.
And finally, I've got here that apparently WoW subscriptions have fallen 3 million in 3 months or something like that. I hear a story like this every couple years, though. But if you're hemorrhaging users in the millions, do you think that's after the expansion bump or something?
Yeah. That's
okay.
Pretty much what it was.
So they
released it,
then.
And they got a whole bunch of people to come back who hadn't played in a long time.
As always.
And I think, there's a lot wrong with World of Warcraft at the moment that
like
they really.
I'm actually curious about this because I've been fighting the temptation to dabble. I usually, I play enough to see the expansion content, play a raid or two, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm done now. And
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with doing that,
Okay. But what kind of problems are they having with WoW right now? Like outside of, are they still really slow at releasing content? Because I want to say
they're not. No, right now
that's good.
Not. They're really fast with the raid content. It feels like this expansion's coming to an end, and we'll probably have the next one out by the end of the year, which is okay.
Well, here's the problem with that.
Now you gotta pay another $60 though.
$60?
Yeah,
it's not $40 anymore.
$60. This one was $60. But the issues are kind of they're it's not one thing all by itself that's a problem. It's like little parts of different things. Like they have garrisons, and garrisons were like neat for like the first like 2 or 3 weeks, but now it's like I don't want to play an alt because oh my god, I have to do all this work.
More busy work garrison. Like dailies and shit, right?
Yeah, well, there's no dailies. It's all your garrison.
There are no still dailies though.
It is,
they
but
just
it's
changed what dailies are.
But I have to dump in a lot of time and gold to get this garrison up, and make sure that I go out and get followers, and then do this and that, and then there's a legendary ring, and it's like, okay, now if I'm gonna get the legendary ring for an alt, because if you don't have it, like, there's no point in playing that particular character seriously, because you're always going to be at a disadvantage without that ring. So you have to make sure that, okay, if I'm going to play this particular character a lot, I had to go through all this boring fucking farming and doing shit I don't want to do again just to make sure I can play it. It's like I've already done it on the one that I play my main tune. Like, I don't want to sit here and do this on like 2, 3, or 4, or 5 other ones just because I feel like playing them at a raid at one time,
Shit, I can't even justify doing it once.
And or if I say, okay, well, I don't want to play this class or this particular spec, I want to go play this different class in this next raid tier for whatever reason, I really can't do that because I didn't start on that
Wait, are the
legendary.
rings spec sensitive? I
Well,
guess
I
they'd
mean,
have to be.
you have to redo it on every single particular tune. I mean, you
No, I
can
mean
switch out
for
for
one
specs.
character.
That costs
Okay.
gold. It's no big deal.
No, I know.
But
I meant like, is the ring like? Are there 3 different rings for every class? You know, like a prot ring, a fury ring, an arms ring, or is it just a ring?
oh, it's just a. Well, I mean, you have one. Like you can get the the one for whatever spec you play. Most of the time is given for free. But if you wanted to pick up one for like an off spec, or if you switch, it just costs gold to get that one. But I mean, it just makes having an alt like really difficult because it's just so much time has to go into doing it, and I really dislike that intensely.
Well, thank you. You've completely destroyed any desire I had to pop back in there. I guess I'll
And
wait
then
for another
you have the
expansion and then just
garrisons,
shotgun
and
2 of them.
there's no neutral hub, and I really think that lack of a neutral hub is super detrimental to an MMO.
I don't know. I don't want to see those Hume motherfuckers.
Yeah, but
Those dirty
you
gnomes.
you sit in your garrison and you do nothing else.
As opposed to watching other people sit all over
Yeah, but it doesn't
Orgrimmar.
feel alive at all. I don't see any other players.
That's true.
I'm not interacting. It's an MMO RPG, not just an RPG.
Man,
Like I
I
could
wish
go
I could
play an
play.
RP,
Sorry,
I could
what?
go play an RPG if I wanted to. The whole point is the massively multiplayer online aspect of interacting with other people. Like if that's not there, well, what the fuck's the point?
Do you have any idea how much I would love a single player World of Warcraft? If I could
It,
just have competent AIs be my, like, other 4 party members and just roll all over the place.
I
Man,
don't
that
know.
would be a good video game. Also, it
It,
wouldn't cost monthly subs.
it's just that I don't know. There's not really enough to do at level cap right now. Like basically, you log in, you do your raid. PvP is a mess right now. It's so horribly bad. Like I don't know
That's why
what's
I don't
going.
play after I see the content of an expansion, generally. I don't
Well,
give
I
a
mean,
fuck about
in the
endgame.
past they've had lots to do at level cap,
What, like
But
grind dailies?
I mean, you could do dailies or you could do. I mean, PvP would be fun. Right now it's just plain not fun
Do they
because
not
it's.
have those world raid bosses like they did in
Yeah,
Mists of
but nobody gives
Pandaria?
a shit because they don't drop anything anybody cares about. Like
Oh,
that the level of gear that they drop,
it's like intro
it's
raid shit, right?
it pretty much. I mean, it's like whatever, And I don't know. There's a lot wrong with it. It needs to go back to what it used to be, which is what they promised, and
Oh
then we
well,
we
wow,
didn't get
Blizzard kind of fucked up on a promise with World of Warcraft.
big time.
Final question here about World of Warcraft. Do you foresee another situation like they had with Siege of Orgrimmar, where
No.
that was the only fucking raid they had for like, I want to say 9 months or something?
Oh no, it
Like
was
just
like
no fucking
almost
content.
14 months.
Are
That
you
was.
are you serious?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yikes.
I think what they did is they wound up putting all of the mounts that they were gonna have as like reputation mounts in Warlords
In the
as
cash
store
shop?
mounts. Yeah,
Mmm.
because the mounts you actually get from reputation are reskinned, ugly, and are terribly animated. And I am a huge mount collector, and I don't give a fuck about any of them.
Well, the only mount I ever needed was my white ass warg.
Nah,
Yeah.
I love collecting mounts. I don't know what it is. It's stupid,
I
retarded.
also like my gyrocopter,
Yeah,
but I
but
have to be an engineer for that.
it's just like I think they did that when they had that 14 months of no content. They just like threw.
They put everything on the cash shop, right?
I think that I honestly, truly, 100% believe that like the Graining Skull Reaver and like the Iron Sky Reaver, I think those mounts were originally meant to be reputation mounts in Warlords of Draenor, and because they had no content coming out for so long, they just decided to put them in the cache.
Awesome.
Like I totally believe that is what happened, because that is the only reason I can come up with why the mounts that they have for the factions currently in Draenor are so fucking shitty. Like, absolutely subpar.
No
Like,
yaks.
I don't even understand like how this passed like QA. They're just awful.
Does it look like fan-made mounts?
No, not that they're just animated so bad, and they're
Hmm.
all reskins. Like you get like 5 different colors of the same fucking wolf mount or this mount or that's it. Only difference is the colors.
I remember having a yak I really liked.
But I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Blizzard needs to like they will lose more at this point because people are just starting to hit like, okay, we've given you a lot of chances here, and
Yeah.
we're not getting anything back for it. So eventually,
I think World of Warcraft does need to die. It's been coasting for longer than it's been relevant at this point, I think.
if they're gonna like, they can do that. If it dies, it's gonna be because they killed it.
Hmm.
I don't think it. I mean, you could keep that thing going for another decade if they actually treated it, like it, needs to be.
I don't know. I think most people aren't down for what you want.
What do you mean?
What is it you want it to be like that it used to be like? Like BC? Like you want shit to be hard? Do you want attunement? Do you want... What do you want?
I think the way they have I think the current raid scheme, the raids themselves are wonderfully designed and they're really fun right now. I think that's some of the best that they've ever done. But the problem is that they have too many difficulties for each raid. Like you have LFR, you have normal, you have heroic, and you have mythic. So it's like, okay,
And then it's 10 and 25 man versions of each, right?
well, mythic is 20 man only. Mythic is now the hardest one. And then everything else is flex, so you can have anywhere between like 10 and 30 people, 10 and 30 people. So, and it scales with how many people are on the raid, and that's fine. But the problem is, it's like that. There's 4 times I could do this place. Like, why?
I was
Like,
good
what?
with just doing it on LFR, to be honest.
I mean, we don't really need to have like normal. Like, we don't have to like.
Yeah. They could probably consolidate that a bit.
Yeah.
Like have flex and then have the real shit mythic.
Honestly, I mean, and like they can. I don't understand why they don't just create like some of the smaller like Karazhan back in BC was 10 man. Just throw in like raid content that's a little bit different than just this is mythic and whatever. I don't know.
Like just a less important area? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or
like
or
less quote unquote epic, right?
Yeah.
Just like, hey, here's a place, go fucking do stuff in it.
Yeah.
I think that's why people really liked Karazhan. It's like, hey, it's just this house in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I mean, a lot of people never saw anything other than Karazhan because it was so difficult to get into it, And that's fine, but like give them something else. Don't like taint all of this stuff with like, I don't know. They're making everything like super like
casual friendly.
Casual friendly, and it doesn't feel good to have it super casual friendly, like.
I understand your concern. Like I understand your position. I unfortunately can't back it myself because I'm a casual player at best. Like I play for a month or two and then I'm done. So, but it's kind of shitty to treat your core, the ones who pay you every month, like they're not the focus.
Well, that's what they've been doing. I think that's what a lot of game companies have been doing lately. Like they completely ignore the people who want to give them their money for the people who really don't give a shit if it's there or not. Yeah. I think like at this point Blizzard is more interested in getting you to resubscribe and keeping me subbed.
That's gross, right? Because
that's what it
I'm
feels
only
like.
Gonna do it for a month or two maximum.
Exactly, and it's like you don't give a shit. I'm the one who's still here. Like, please pay attention to me.
I give a shit enough to be like, hey, what do these new zones look like? But at that point, I could just like go look at my brother's computer or something. Mm-hmm. What I saw didn't impress me.
Like the world's fine, the leveling's fun, but it's like whatever at this point. There's not enough to do. There's not enough to see. There's no world building. Everybody's just off in their garrisons by themselves. I don't see anybody else. It's like,
have they instanced all the zones too much to the point where it's like you don't fucking see anybody anymore? You know
Well,
what I
there's no
mean?
point to go to the zones. This is
Oh,
the problem. You know, if
because
there's
there's
no
no more
like,
dailies, right?
there's no more dailies, there's no point being out
So
in
you
the
just
world.
hang out in your
It's,
fucking house?
yep, pretty much.
Man, that blows.
And then I send my followers out to go do stuff that I should be doing, but I'm not because my followers do it. And then it.
You don't have to farm anymore, right? I fucking hated farming in Pandaria.
What do you mean, like farm what?
Like no like actual vegetable farming and shit.
No. Well, see, they killed the professions are fucked right
What?
now. They're awful. Oh, professions are terrible. So
Okay, we're
bad.
gonna cut a couple segments because now I'm really interested in all this World of Warcraft shit. What did they do to the professions?
Well, at this point, you in your garrison you can have every profession has a daily cooldown, and you use those cooldowns to create things, blacksmithing or leatherworking or.
Like, do you still need to go farm ore and shit?
Because you don't need to have anybody go do that because everybody can do it in their garrison.
Oh my god.
I can go to my mine in my garrison and mine, but I'm not a miner. I can go to my herb garden in my garrison and herb, but I'm not an herbalist. Because all my toons can do that. So having those professions means literally nothing anymore.
What the fuck?
I don't understand why.
You know how many times I've had to level up blacksmithing?
It's destroyed the economy. And like leveling them up is great, and like now you can take the daily cooldowns plus like a savage blood, which is like used to be hard to get, but now it's not. And then you can take those, and then you can make crafted, and you can level the crafted pieces up with you. And you,
So
at
wait.
the very least, like you can get things that are. Go ahead.
No, what do you finish your thought?
Well, the shitty thing is that you create like, oh, I'm gonna make shoulders. Well, the stats on them are random.
What the fuck?
And I have to make something else to re-roll randomly the stats before I get something I want, and then I may not get them in the ratio that I want. And
So wait, is it like rolling dice? Like you get 1d20 strength, for example. You know what I mean? Or is it? It could be strength or stamina.
The secondary stats are random, so I can get crit versatility, or I can get haste and mastery, or
Fuck
I can
does
get
any of that
haste,
mean? I know crit.
haste and multi-strike, or I could get
Multi-strike. I thought they were simplifying the fucking stats. Did they
yeah.
lie every single time?
No, they simplified the stats in a way, but then they added new ones because
That doesn't. That's the defeats the fucking point of
Blizzard
simplifying
said
the stats.
we're gonna get rid of justice points and valor points because we think that those aren't fun. But here's this totally brand new Apexis crystal currency that's more bullshit than anything you've ever run into in the game.
You're talking
before.
bullshit I don't even understand.
Harder to get, and it's just it's retarded. I don't know. It's like they have 5 different groups of people working on this game and nobody's talking to each other.
My brother's really gonna like this episode, I think, because he's the only listener I think who plays World of Warcraft. So wait, with you got followers that can just farm shit for you, get your own ore, so you could theoretically take like just 2 crafting professions, right? Like I could be a blacksmith engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not entirely against this then.
And at this point, like herbs and ore are just so abundant, they're worthless.
You know what? That makes me happy because then you don't get the cocksuckers who are just doing nothing but farming the fucking ore. So that.
But now there's no economy. There's literally no economy anymore.
That's fine.
There's no way to make gold.
So what? Do you? Oh right, there's no dailies, right?
There's no dailies.
Oh shit! How do you make money?
The only way you make gold now is either if you farm it by doing boring shit endlessly for hours,
like killing mobs.
Like killing mobs and stuff like that. Incidentally, one of the most lucrative places to farm is in fucking Pandaria. Go fucking figure.
Really?
Or you roll a bunch of treasure hunter followers and you just send them out on missions, and literally do nothing yourself.
Man.
Like, there is no active way. And then you have these salvage boxes that you get from follower missions if they have a certain trait, and that's killed the transmog economy because now everybody gets all kinds of rare shit all the time.
Okay.
So there's nothing for you to do to like, okay, I want to make a lot of gold, so alright, I'm gonna do, take this market or whatever. Now it's like, if you didn't corner a market on like enchanting or um like jewel crafting early on, which is really hard to do now because gem slots are random rolls on gear, so most of your
Oh.
gear doesn't even have it. It's a random thing. And enchanting is only for necks, rings, and weapons and
What?
cloaks. That's it. You don't enchant your helm, you don't enchant your chest, you don't enchant your gloves, you don't enchant your legs, you don't enchant your boots anymore. It's
You're
just
right. They are just casualizing the fuck out of it, so it's not like it's so it's less scary to
I
Johnny or the fucking
their
mother with
their
4 kids
excuse
playing the
was
game.
like, "Oh, if you got a new piece of gear, we wanted you to be able to equip it now." But now it's like, "Okay, well, who the fuck cares if I could it wasn't that hard for me to like hearth out, go get my shit enchanted, and then come back. Like that wasn't make or break for me in the game. But so now, even with those two professions, it's really hard to make gold because there's only people only need so much of it.
Okay, I figured it out. They're turning it into a phone game. Think about it. You've
They
got all
did.
these
So
boxes. You,
garrisons
you
are a
check
phone
every
game.
couple
The
hours. It's like, oh, let's
garrisons
click
are
all
a
here
phone
and
game.
pick up all my resources and just
Honest
come
to
back a
God,
couple hours later.
you could do all of that from a phone.
I bet you there's an app coming. That's why they got
They
Hearthstone working on
explicitly
your
said
cell phone.
no, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I hope it's true. I hope they just drop the garrison stuff completely.
That's
Now,
like the
see,
main
if
thing
they did
people were happy
garrisons
about,
as like
right?
guild housing or something, where you could, like, this was a guild effort, everybody contributed and did all that, it'd be different. But it's just me by myself.
I mean, you're not. I don't know.
It's there's
That is kind of fucked. They're turning it into a phone game.
the garrison aspect is definitely 100% a phone game.
That's
It
kind of
it
weird.
works. It's Farmville.
Yeah,
It works
they made
exactly the
World of
way Farmville
Warcraft
does.
into Farmville. Why don't you go play
And
Plants vs. Zombies while you wait for your
so once you
garrison
get
cooldowns?
your garrison stuff done, which takes 10 minutes maybe to do all of that,
Yeah, works for me.
you have nothing else to do. Unless you
I
go and farm like old content,
So
and
you're
go run
paying
old raids.
$15 a month for a phone game.
Enter raid
Well, the
occasionally.
raids expire. Like you can only do it once a week, right?
Well, I mean, you can do them as often as it depends
What?
on if you
There's
still
not
work with the
cooldowns
boss.
anymore on the raids?
Yeah, but it's not like, oh, I walked into it once and I can't go back this week. It's like, if you've cleared it, then yeah, like
Hmm.
you have to clear all of it. But still.
Yikes. Well, maybe it'll be easier for me to get people to run through old raids with me because they got nothing to fucking do. So
Well,
what I should do is roll a shaman
in
on your server, and then you'll have nothing but time to help me out while your cooldowns pop back up on your garrison.
in 6.2, they're introducing time walking,
Hmm?
which is basically BC, Wrath, and Cataclysm dungeons. So they're gonna have these weekends, right? And certain dungeons are gonna be available on certain weekends. So like, and it's gonna scale you down to that level.
Scale
So
you
like,
down.
yeah,
I guess that
to
makes it
that,
easier than scaling the dungeons up, yeah.
yeah.
But then
I
isn't
mean,
the gear pointless? Would it
no,
just be for the fun of doing the dungeon? Which I'm all
no,
for.
no. I think at the end you get a piece of gear that's equivalent to like a normal raid, like item level wise, like nothing great, but
Hmm.
it's something, which is an interesting and a cool idea, and people have been asking for that for a long time because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we have all this content you guys have created, but really no
You can't
reason
use it.
you can't use any of it, and this addresses that problem. I just don't know how difficult they're gonna be because a lot of those dungeons were designed when the game was very different,
Tank a spank, motherfucker. Works for me. I'd
Like
be okay if every fight was tank a spank.
God no, it's so boring, pointless.
You realize I played Dragon Quest, right?
Yeah, I
That whole
know.
fucking game is tank and spank.
But yeah, that's coming out in 6.2, which is probably up in June or July.
That's
But
interesting.
and that's interesting. And then, but we'll see how that actually functions. It's kind of nice that they're limiting it to weekends because then, it's not going to be like, oh, I ran through them all once, I'm done, never doing them again.
If I roll a shaman on your server, you gotta help me get my tier 2 armor.
Yeah,
The
that's fine.
transmog.
Yeah.
Because that's the coolest shit. That's the coolest shit. That's the one with the wolves on his shoulders. I think he's got a wolf hat. Alright.
I think you're talking about the dungeon set.
Oh, maybe I mean tier 3.
You can't get tier, well, I mean you can, but...
Oh, what the fuck am I thinking of? This is compelling radio right here. We're not going to have time for one of these, we're already going to be over for this podcast, I think, so I should probably stop wasting time. Fuck it. Not important. World of Warcraft. Pretty fucked up. Neat ideas. None of you are going to go play it.
Yeah. I think Blizzard just had the opportunity with this expansion to really kind of do, like, you know, one foot in the old way and another foot in the, like, new way of game design, and then they just kind of blew it.
Yeah. They're not modernizing fast enough. Like, they're modernizing in a bad way, a phone game's way. Also, for the record, for everybody who cares, I totally was talking about tier 2. Not a wolf hat, it's this cool lightning bolt hat. Also, he's got a skirt, a kilt. So neat.
It's not a shaman if it doesn't have a kilt.
I know. I fucking hate seeing shaman wearing pants. Fuck that noise.
I don't think any of them really have, like, set-wise. But anyway.
Tier 3 did. It sucked. I guess it's just tier 3, actually.
No?
Oh, no, tier 5. Sorry, I meant tier 5.
Tier 5.
Anyway. Let's move on from fucking World of Warcraft. We probably put half our listeners to sleep. We're going to skip the discussion of the week this week. It was just a freebie from my list, so maybe I'll even have a more relevant one then. Quickly here, I'll gloss over the upcoming releases. We've got Final Fantasy X and X2. Remake. You know, they did the remakes for the PS3. Guess what?
Yeah.
You got an HD remix for the PS4 of those PS3 remakes of those PS2 games.
This is me not giving a shit.
This is a new level of just a big middle finger to the face. He's like, hey, you like this PS4 game? It's actually a PS3 game that's actually a PS2 game. How many times can we remaster something before you stop giving a fuck? I think it's this many times. I don't imagine that sells a single copy. Witcher 3 is apparently coming out in the next Tuesday.
Yep.
You're sighing, or are you happy?
Excited.
You're
I'm
happy.
excited.
Okay.
I'm excited. Because my finals are done on Monday.
So you're going to have lots to talk about next time we sit down here.
Yes, hopefully.
So that's good. And hopefully your finals go well as well. The only other thing I had pegged down here as even sort of relevant is there's a bunch of Hyperdimension Neptunia shit also coming out on May 19th. I only noted that because the boxes looked like every other box I've fucking seen for that series, so I actually can't tell if that's new shit or HD remix shit, so I mostly just wanted to make fun of Hyperdimension Neptunia. Because every single box looks the same. I don't even know how many of those fucking games there have been. It seems like 10, but they all have the same box, so it could just be the same fucking game 10 times. Fuck your Moe shit.
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, weebs do. Probably actually some of our listeners. So tell us on our Twitter page what you think of Hyperdimension Neptunia. Maybe I'm a shitlord. We'll go straight down to the conclusion in the comments here. Unfortunately, we also have a shitload of questions this week because...
You were like, it's like pulling teeth. Oh shit, too many.
Yeah, well then I got like way too many. But we'll go through here really quick. My friend Pringle asks, why do people want another 3D Castlevania? Why wouldn't a modern 2D whip-based Castlevania work? I mean, I feel like that would be better myself. Maybe some sort of casual idiots really like Lords of Shadow, and they want more of that because they've got no taste. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know why anybody would want 3D Castle. I mean, what's the point?
There's apparently... Tangent real quick here.
I mean, what can you do with the 3D Castlevania that hasn't been done by a dozen other games already? Like,
that's a good point. Like, the only good 3D Castlevania game I've seen, which I actually ordered earlier this week, I'll probably talk about that more in the future, it just looks like a good PS2 action game, you know? Like, it's got elements of Castlevania, so I guess it's just, you want a good game with elements of Castlevania, because I like Castlevania, so I don't know, that would be nice, but I think that's beyond Konami's capabilities right now. That kind of game is done with the PS2. Like, everything's got to be epic and fucking grand, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Games have gone in a gross direction.
Haven't they?
Pringle also asks, what would a Christian Slater video game be like? Probably smug.
Have you ever seen Gleaming the Cube?
I have not.
It would be just like that.
I'll take your word for it, and maybe they'll know what you're talking about.
Perhaps. I hope
Because
so.
they're pretty big Christian Slater fans.
It'd be just like that.
Optic Bread asks, how much wood could a wood dick if a wood dick could dick wood? However much as a woodchuck could chuck with the woods. I don't even know what a woodchuck is. Does he throw woods?
Woodchuck's
Sounds like a
kind of like a
rodent.
beaver, right? So we got dicks and beavers going on here,
Beaver
kind of.
dick. Ah, there you go.
It's perfect.
Innuendo. Stirthry asks, podcasts are still around? Yes, you are listening to one right now. You're probably not listening to this. Masked Martyr asks, what's this podcast about? Video games. Powachar.
I said sometimes.
Sometimes, and then sometimes it's about World of Warcraft. Really briefly. Huh?
I said burn.
Sick burn. It's a phone game. If it's a phone game, then it's not video games.
Exactly.
Fuck that nerd shit. Powachar asks, does Nintendo actually encourage fapping to the squid amiibos? I think so, because they've all got really tight shorts, and they know how weebs love little girls in tight shorts. Yeah. Yeah, people are already talking about how much they want to masturbate all over that squid amiibo. So that's
just
great,
fun.
right?
Doing wonders for gamers.
Hot glue. Is there a place for God in video games? Yeah, I think I killed God in Dragon Quest VII. So
I mean,
he's a really good end boss.
There's a place for everything in video games, obviously. Yeah. I mean, just look at them.
Well, you know, you got Super Noah's Ark 3D, countless Bible games for the NES. There's absolutely a place for God in video games. He also asks, do you think Jesus would play video games? If so, what kind? My obvious joke goes to Mario Party 1 because of the bleeding palms and whatnot. I don't know much about the Jesus. What do you think he'd like? You probably know.
He can make a lot of currency.
Currency?
As a Jew.
Oh, right. I get it. I get where you're going with that, and our listeners are going to appreciate that. You anti-Semite.
Totally.
Phobator asks, how do we encourage game companies to be adventurous and make new IPs with new experiences instead of rehashing everything and cashing in on nostalgia because it's the safe bet?
By not giving the rehashes money and giving the risks money. Stop giving your money to the wrong things, basically. Stop
rewarding bad business practices like HD remixes. But the problem is, we don't necessarily have a say on that because it's the hordes of assholes, the Call of Duty dude bros that go out and buy all the fucking games, more influencing the market than we do. So there's no real reason for a game to avoid milking things, you know?
Not if people are going to give him money. No.
Yeah. Fangbreaker asks, is censorship ever okay?
No.
No. Absolutely not.
Never. Under any circumstance.
Not even exclusive to video games. That's unacceptable no matter what.
Yeah.
People can say whatever asinine things they want to say, and I should be just as free to tell them they're stupid assholes. But to take away their freedom to say that is just... That's asshole-ish. No one wants to be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. Then the Judgment asks, what was the golden age of video games? Define golden age however you see fit, but no cop-outs or hedging your bets. I'm just going to go straight up here and say the PS1 and N64 era is my golden age.
64 era was definitely for me too.
Like Super Nintendo, Genesis, there's a lot of really good shit there. That's probably a close second, tied with, the PS2 and stuff, mostly for the GBA. But if I'm just going to talk sheer content of shit I care about, it's the N64 and the PS1. And that's probably got something to do with when you and I grew up,
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, depending on the age of who you ask, they're going to have a different answer unless they're being like hipster fucktards. But I think that, I mean, for myself, because around the N64, PS1, kind of in that general era. I mean, I was, 10 to 14 years old, kind of, so that was when I was at I was old enough to appreciate and really kind of be engaged in the games I was playing. And I think just there was a huge number of just amazing stuff that came out. And I
Hmm.
feel really privileged to have been part of that.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of good shit there, and it's not insignificant the jump from 2D to 3D. Like that was probably the single biggest graphical leap we experienced going from the Super Nintendo and the Genesis to the PlayStation and the N64. Like we
Dude,
went to a whole new dimension.
hmm I remember playing Super Mario 64 for like the first time, like right as that 64 was released, and
It
playing
was
that. It
mind
was just
blowing.
like, it really was. And it's still an amazing game. Like,
Absolutely.
it has aged amazing. Like, it is.
As long
Like,
as you can compensate for the controls, like you can make the game reliably do exactly what you want to do if you understand the way the game controls. And you
yeah.
can't necessarily say that for some other games that have aged really poorly.
Or some new games, even
Or some new.
sometimes.
That's very true. So yeah, I'm glad we agreed on that actually. Like, I probably spent the most time with my Game Boy Advance personally. Like, if I was gonna pick the number one thing like that's been the most significant to me, it would probably be the GBA or the the DS Lite. But
For me, I think it'd be the N64. I think
yeah.
is what definitely spent the most time playing, was my N64.
See, I'm more on the PS1 side of that generation. Not to say the N64 didn't have a lot of good games, but like just quantity, I think PS1 had it down for sure. Because if you think about, there's Mario Kart, yeah, you got Crash Team Racing, that's equally good. In some ways better, in my opinion, than Mario Kart 64.
Well, I think the N64 is it because that's what I had
Yeah,
first, obviously, and what I had the longest, and that's what all my friends also had too.
that
So,
matters, yeah.
yeah, and like I think that the N64 really started, oddly enough, to Nintendo. They really started their multiplayer games I think were the best on
Yeah.
the N64, and then they forgot multiplayer existed moving forward, but
I don't know, they still make the Mario Karts and the Smash Brothers and stuff.
yeah, but that's it. Like there's nothing else.
Like, if you look
I
at
don't think
what blew
really.
my mind was, like, we popped Conquer in the other day when I had some guests over. And like there were so many multiplayer games on there. I'm like, what? I didn't even know any of that was in here. I thought it was just a single player game. So
Nope.
they just packed that shit into everything.
Yep.
Sorry, I lost my headphones there. You still there?
Mhm.
Okay. But yeah, uh, glad we agreed on that. So that's that. I was briefly gonna talk about Medieval in the video game showcase, but like I said, we're running late as it is already, so I'll save that for next week, along with our discussion of the week. You can find us on Twitter at the Mad Moai for me, and she's at some math dork. We also have an official podcast Twitter at Starport Resort. Follow us there. I try to tweet both on mine and Starport Resort. I don't do it as much on the official account because more people respond to my tweets, even when I retweet them. It's, whatever. Tell your friends about the show. I'd like to, reach more people. Not that I don't appreciate the 30 or so people who listen regularly already, but you always want to
30
reach more
people.
people.
Jesus, 30 people
Yeah,
listening to us.
I get about 30 hits per episode, so yeah, that's pretty good. I've also I've tried to start doing direct downloads on Mega Upload right now. It's just a temporary solution until we figure out how to get a proper podcast feed or something. But so if you're listening to us on Twitter or on YouTube here, I guess it's too late. But going forward, there should be a download link to my Mega account where you can just download the podcast directly and carry that with you on the phone. It's not a podcast format file, so it won't like save your progress or anything, but it's better than nothing, I think. Going forward, I'm going to try to make things work better, but YouTube works just fine for now. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Later.